Hi guys, thank you very much for meeting me here today. Paulina talking to you about the new moon on the 17th of January 2018. So I've recently arrived in Mimili, which is a very remote community. It's a remote Aboriginal community in Australia, about 5 hours away from Alice Springs. And here I am learning and feeling and reconnecting, so it's really beautiful to be here. Thank you very much for joining me. So let's talk to you about you and what the new moon will bring. So it feels to me that with you and another person, there might be trauma, and it might be something that's been long lasting. If you're not somebody that usually looks at that type of stuff, you might need to have a look. Why? Because I'm feeling that with how Pluto is, the Sun and the Moon and Venus, this is not just because we want to start something new for ourselves. There is an ancient tie with somebody else. There could be a karmic one. There may be a lot of trauma with another person or people, because there's so many different planets together in Capricorn, including Saturn. There is so much interest in one another, and there is a constant ongoing tide. A constant ongoing tide, a push and pull, a bit for you, a bit for me. What's here for me? What's here for you? This is the question here on people's minds. So however we are placed in the world and whatever we have around us, I feel it is very, very likely that things are not going to change unless we truly have a look at us, and unless we truly look inside as well. So have a look at you. Perhaps there's something that you're starting to understand more about yourself. Maybe you are not quite understanding something about other people. There's a lot of blind spots. I'm feeling that perhaps for some there is a lot of things to do, there's a lot of things to consider, but we have to also understand that we are a family, and there's lots of connections that we miss out on in here as well as in our lives if we only walk towards the pride, if we only walk towards who we think we are in the world. So there is an interesting juggling scenario here possible as we are looking at our children, we're looking at our partner, or we're looking at our job, we're looking at our community and other things beyond it. So it is not just a straightforward experience here, I feel, during this new moon. I feel it's a little bit of a juggle. Another thing that I'm feeling for this new moon on the 17th is it is between two big moons in 1 month. And there is an eclipse coming on the 31st. There is a startup of something, but this something can also end very quickly. So for example, if you are thinking, I'm going to bet on this, I'm going to try with this, I'm going to stuff this, I'm going to start this, there is a chance that this can slip up, or you might even walk away from it, look at it from a different perspective and think, why did I do this in the first place? So there is a very interesting chance to start things anew, and it feels to me that if it is right and there's not a lot of trauma behind the experience, it could really thrive. It's like putting a seed into the soil and the seed just births like giant fruit. There is a lot of us, I feel, that are very tired and unwelcoming of ourselves, and if we are not using our time here in reflection, if we are just going and not turning and seeing what's happening in our past or what's going on inside the body, this can be very, very dark and harsh. So for example, it is possible to bear, or how can I say, to seed a large fruit that doesn't really come about. So things can happen with sexuality and childbirth, fertility in general, where the fruit is too big to be birthed, or the idea is too large to be coming into life. That is very possible if we aren't quite considering ourselves. So consider yourself, consider your own life. We can really take too much on during this time. We can really take into consideration larger ideas and frequencies and thoughts and emotions that are coming from the past or the future, because it feels to me very galactic energy at the moment. So what I mean is, we can create a situation where we are starting a project, or we are beginning a relationship, or any kind of face-to-face experience with another that is so huge that we later cannot bear it. So what can you bear? Have a look at you. If you're somebody undernourished, or if you are like so certain in yourself that you've been bringing yourself to a purpose at such a rate and such a pace and in such a regime that you don't actually have much room to flower yourself, really consider, because here, especially for the women, especially for the ladies, those who have really been connecting with earth, connecting with their mother, or connecting with the idea of full bloom of femininity, there is a lot of potential to birth something new. There's a new type of fertility opening up in terms of physical fertility, but also in terms of what you're doing in the world, what you're structuring, what you're creating, and what you can bear. But for, especially this is for women, but for a woman who has been very spindly, you know, she's been growing out of the sun, meaning she hasn't had enough love or any kind of connection to the world, or she's been, for example, studying and sitting in front of a computer all day long and not wanting to flourish and exercise and do things for herself. That really shows, and this means that sometimes during this experience, we can sometimes be chosen or not chosen by experiences, circumstances, and other people, and even ourselves. So it's like, are you fit enough to do this? Are you not fit enough to do this? So if you're thinking about starting a new job or a business, you might find that you either get put into the good box or the bad box. It's either we're keeping you on or we're letting you go. And this is not a personal thing. This is not a harmful thing, because sometimes with these people who have not nurtured themselves enough and become spindly and weak over time through dismembering themselves through too much work or too much business and too much some kind of like OCD practice or excessive amount of talking, an excessive amount of doing, will occasionally on this type of moon find what it is that they are no longer able to do. No longer able to do. This is a very, very humiliating and strong time for people that are finding that, for example, through not taking care of themselves, they no longer can generate certain, regenerate certain parts of their body. So, for example, if somebody's been eating a lot of milk and cheese, and they've been, say, not brushing their teeth enough, and they have a lot of candy, and they like hit 40, you might find that there's a lot of cavities in your teeth, or the teeth are weak, or there is something in the body, in the bowels, that's not functional. It's a very, very big wake-up call for people who have been ongoingly doing something, and to see that within themselves that practice hasn't paid off. Also, in terms of people who are obsessively, like compulsively doing, like compulsively drawing, compulsively like sitting in front of a TV, or compulsively making a certain choice over and over, this can show. So this new moon is an incredible eye-opener for people who have constantly been on the verge with themselves, or have constant disregard for their health, or constant obsession with a certain type of business practice or habit, especially things that they think they ought to do, like say, of course I need to eat meat all the time, or I ought to drink a lot of milk. People that think they ought to do something sometimes during this type of moon can replace the habit with a new one, or paradoxically replace one habit with a new habit. I feel that if you are noticing, and I would definitely urge especially the women during this time to notice how they've been taking care of themselves, what does and doesn't work, what has been and hasn't been paying off. Perhaps you are now at the beginning of a new routine, and you're actually starting to see, oh, the changes are great. Or if you've begun a routine, say 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you're saying, actually I'm not getting that much out of this workout, or I'm not getting this much out of this diet, or this type of tranquility, this type of energy, this type of home. Have a look into that, and maybe perhaps with time that will change and you might get a result, but also heed to those parts of you that are not getting a result. This is also a new thing for me, is I feel that for the men and the power, because we're looking Pluto Sun, and we're looking at Saturn as well catching up, it feels to me that there is an incredible amount of stamina being born as a potential. I'm feeling that a lot of men are growing up tall in one way and forgetting themselves in another way, and I've had a few people come to my life in the last while who have had a lot of masculine energy unrealized, or unconnected, disconnected, because they didn't really understand their own fascia, their own feminine, but two, they didn't really consider their masculine force and the masculine power inside. And this means that tantric practice, tantric union with oneself or a partner is perfect during this time. If you're considering taking advantage of this incredible time, if you're a man and you would like to create a new warrior spirit for you, if you are remembering your ancestors, or you're remembering your experiences with women, and you would like to start structuring, whether you are taken or not, you know, single or taken, doesn't matter, a new relationship within your physicality as a man, as a masculine, as you know, part of the species, a representative of the species. And if you would like to maybe carry that on in a different way, so how you are fertile as a man, how you birth as a man, how you show people the way, how you take leadership and ownership of your space, or how you're using your sexuality, your divine power sexually. Because this can also be something that is very, very uncertain and off-putting. There is a lot of unconscious sexuality here with us, a lot, everywhere on this planet during this type of time, you know, this type of era, as we are in Kali Yuga still. But there's also ways to recharge and enlighten yourself through greater sensual understanding through your own practice. So practicing energy, any type of routine, anything to do with breath and yoga, especially for men. It feels to me that women are more suffering on the side of doing too much and having too much to think about and too much to take care of. And it feels to me that the feminine has struggled like that for a long time and is starting to see divinations. So I'm starting to see bad menstrual cycles. I'm starting to see cancer develop early in years. I'm starting to see all these different ways of being unnurtured, you know, finer tissues, you know, like stretched out fascia, things that are on the go all the time, things that are not nurtured and not absorbing enough. Like there's not enough absorption in the feminine. And for the masculine, I'm feeling there is too much anger for not being able to serve a purpose, perhaps, or not being able to really cultivate that masculine divine frequency to the full bloom. And how I feel this can happen is perhaps you might see that, you know, your mother or your daughter or your sister or your wife doesn't quite get it. It's almost like the person locks up. Would you like a cup of tea? Yes, okay, I'll make you a cup of tea, but then the person disappears. Neurotic experiences for both genders at the moment I feel are booming, it's shaking, it's becoming. How to overcome this? I feel that for men there's been an ongoing progress of not knowing what to do, not quite noticing what they are here in the world, maybe perhaps for some. And there is like a very interesting feminine and masculine crisis as we're both redefining gender within ourselves, and within another, what we're looking for, what we're attracted to is also growing and changing. And it feels to me during this type of moon we can seed something different. It feels to me that the masculine energy might need to no longer concern itself with the daily grind, because it sort of perhaps understands unconsciously that, or consciously, that the physical world that we've built, which we created, is not sustainable energy on this planet. So this is not a sustainable world we're living in. You know, we're not creating sustainable incomes, we're not creating sustainable households, sustainable materials, and sustainable things that can work over and over. So there is like a weird reminiscing, but at the same time futuristic sort of gazing, I feel, in a masculine, as it sees the full progress of its mind, perhaps, or of the physical potential of masculinity on this planet. This could be very disheartening. I would actually say yoga, breathwork, tantra, and going into the home and connecting. I feel this is the best thing that can happen during this new moon. If you are constantly on the verge of something and you never achieve, if you are constantly building and structuring and creating for nothing, if you are always on the go and you are not yet fully like playing, tasting, meditating, if your practice of your life is ongoing stress, if it is like this, such a nice time to enjoy tantric experiences with your partner or by yourself. Hopefully with another, because it looks like we need a few people to make things work during this transit. Sexuality, sensual energy, going out in public, being seen, flirting with somebody, seeing the dream for what it is. That I feel can become the mecca for a lot of us here during this time. So new moon comes, and this is an important one I feel this month because we are facing an eclipse. This is a very, very nice time to dream and to imagine that you are in another realm. And I'm sorry, like, you know, yeah, we have Capricorn, we have you know, Venus, yeah, we got the moon meeting the sun, everything like that, but this isn't really about structure, although Capricorn does suggest with itself structure. That will come. We'll have Saturn go all the way through Capricorn for a couple of years or so, and it will become strong. What we thought we never would achieve, we will achieve. Everybody will at some point create greater maturity and greater structure. It is a great time to start working towards a business if you have the right business. How do you know? Okay, how do you know if you got the right business? Okay, for those few people that have discovered their heart, they have discovered their brain, they're getting downloads. When you are sitting there in front of a computer and you're channeling, or you're creating out of nothing, it's like child's play. It's like as if you are playing in the sandpit. If you are there with work, great. Great. Give up whatever you have else, if you'd like. If you're a single person, if you are somebody not really concerned about other people and can't get yourself, your head around other people yet. Even though we've got a dog here and social interaction is impossible to avoid. Even if you work alone, you will face something, I feel, this year coming that is really, really detrimental if you ignore people. You know, you do not need to ignore people. But if you are somebody who's set and, like, say, you sit down and the paints are like your friend, and you know, squeeze out the paints onto the palette and you just go crazy painting, and that's your job, that's your income, or that's your interest, that's where you want to grow. Make sure that during this new moon you do exactly where you want to grow. That's another thing. So you don't get stuck into like, oh yeah, I'm going to just do some accounts, when you don't like doing accounts. If you like accounts and you sit down and you feel like you can breathe again, it's almost like you're riding a bicycle, you know, like you're doing all the accounts and it's like a really magical experience for you. They can become more important for you in the next cycle because it's a consolidating moon. However, when we are busy and we're working and we are shoveling coal for nothing, you know, it's like wake up Monday morning, you know, like you'll wake up and you go, what am I doing? You know, and you have your cup of tea and you have your, you know, slice of whatever, you know, and you go out there and you say, oh, when is lunchtime? Ah, when am I going home? If you are one of those people, especially if you have like a masculine chain in your life, like you have like fathers and forefathers, you know, everybody telling you what to do, and there is a physical, almost like contamination. It's like you've got to physically succumb. You've got to physically succumb to something that contaminates you every day. So like a job that contaminates you, or like the work style, the lifestyle that contaminates you every day. What a nice time to dream, you guys. Like, what a nice time to dream. Unless you fly through and you're so happy, and when you finish the day at work, people are attracted to you. You're attractive. If you're lucky, like me, you know, if you're lucky and your work is a sensual experience, like, oh, you know, it can be beautiful and very extremely fruitful. Extremely fruitful during this moon and coming up to it, to work a lot, to the point where the tree of your knowledge that you share through your work, hopefully, all the amazing things you can show, all the things you're passionate about, if your work is your passion, amazing, bear twice the fruit. So what I mean is, if you've been doing science since you were a kid and you just love it, and you got your girlfriend, you know, you got your partner, you know, got your boyfriend, you know, have your family, and you just feel so good, and you go to work and you love and you spread this love everywhere, and you get home happy and glowing after a day of work. Perfect. You may manifest 3 times the work, 3 times the opportunities, or 3 times the stature. But unless you're doing your thing, unless you're really in the zone, it is not happening. So if you're strung out, if you're stretched out, if you're stressed, if you don't sleep nights, how come not take a few days off and just love? Take a few days off and just go for it. What a beautiful time for sexuality. Sexuality that grows. We have Capricorn Venus, okay? We have it all happening in a structuring energy. So as a energy, as a sign, Capricorn is about structure and creating pattern and habits. This is perfect. If you're in a relationship where sex has dried up, emotional things don't work, you just come home and you got everyday drudgery, you got everyday buy and exchange. It's like you're buying and selling to each other, and you're like, hi honey, I made you dinner, you know, take me shopping. You know, if it is like that, this is difficult, and it is not going to change unless you take the bull by the horns during this time. And if you are in a, you know, ho-hum marriage, in a so-so kind of an environment, start changing it. because you've got the magic wand during this time. If you like, if you are very lucky to have found somebody already and you are within a married bond and you are seeing that suddenly everything is new and you can, you know, change your sheets, like change your lingerie, you know, change the smells and the tastes in your house. You can enrich your whole home because the earth is an opposite sign of Cancer, okay? Yeah, so with Cancer Earth we can change the world that we live in every day. You can change how it is, how you are as a woman especially, and what you do as a man, how you perform. Things can change a lot. You can change your sexual experiences, you can change the way you see each other, you can change the way you feel, and the sensory spectrum can really shine. And the most, I feel, guru thing for people as couples during this time is to create a structure without need to structure. So this is not harsh. It shouldn't be harsh. Like what I mean, it shouldn't be about tantric practice by the book. It shouldn't be about, I read a blog and it said to do this. It is definitely not about, I bought a gadget, let's try it. It is not about this. So basically here it is more about free flow. It's about natural senses. It's about being pleased. So definitely, if you'd like to change your emotional and physical spectrum at home, what a beautiful time to try. And yes, I did state perhaps that this year, because we got Jupiter Scorpio, isn't truly the best time for fertility, especially with the current position of Jupiter. However, if you are thinking about really connecting to this person, it can reach higher levels of fertility. If you're looking to birth a child during this month especially, try not to think about it, but it is possible. I feel it is very likely that this type of energy will become an enlightened energy later with years. So if you are to conceive around this time, it is likely that the person born is not going to be the same as others. And they will go through their own metamorphosis for a long time until their 30s and 40s and become something really beautiful for other people, someone really beautiful, somebody really cared for in society. But it's a slow blooming child. What else? Yes, another thing I feel for the 17th, this new moon and also beyond, is not to structure things you don't want to. Not any longer have sensual experiences that you do not enjoy. To not any longer be with people that you don't find attractive. To no longer decide for yourself low wave energies, low wave income, low wave experiences. To say no if you are really stuck, if you are somebody who doesn't like your partner or you do not like your job and you are sitting there at home or at work or between work and home and you're wondering why every day. If it's really negative, you will be more negative if you keep on going with these things. That means that the cycle, it's like the wheel, the turning wheel during this new moon is almost like the turning of the ecosystem. It's the turning of the womb. It feels to be very womb-like. It's almost like turning of time. There's like a turning. There's a very interesting, almost like a meditative magic energy about this new moon. And this means you can create something that rolls and rolls and rolls. And if you're interested, to utilize this energy would be, I feel, more important to maybe face yourself. If you're struggling within, to maybe see a teacher for some people. For other people, it's about other people taking care of you. If you're really like not sure how to take care of yourself, it's time to ask for help. And I feel that for another person it might be God. So it might be actually facing yourself in a spiritual or religious way. And for other people that really do not want to stop the negative programs that they have and are sometimes, you know, as this happens, they fight for them. They fight for those negative energies for dear life. It might be appropriate to stop and to have a look as to how you can totally, completely relax. If you relax during this time and you create an illusion of heaven, an illusion of success. You might get that later, or your life will change. So for example, if you are spending 3 or 4 days 16th, 17th and 18th and 19th or something like that within a really beautiful pleasure spectrum, for example, you are laying in bed, and if you're so negative that you can't bear yourself, either you get a helper, a guide who can handle it, who does it for a job and who's strong. You know, you're not making a person do it, they actually are strong as a guide. Or you get yourself to do this, because it is not easy to involve another person, because a merging can happen during this time. You can have a karmic relationship during this time if somebody helps you out all the time, or you can commit to yourself another in such a sense that doesn't really get resolved ever. So it's like the relationship never dies or never restructures, or the person looks for these things later, or you get tied. So if you are really toxic, or you're really conservative, or you're really, you know, on edge with things, and you're always in a drama state, to get another person to cuddle you, to smooth you, to love you can be a mystical experience at first. And then perhaps in a later time, in a year or two, you might have very frugal, strange, uncomfortable experience, because we are looking at Jupiter in shadow in Scorpio. We are looking at very strong conjoining between yeah, Mars is going out of Scorpio as well, so it's at the deepest end. So we've also got really strong Pluto conversation with Scorpio Jupiter and Scorpio Mars. We've also got Sun accelerating Pluto. We've got a lot of things that can really push us into the new dimension, where we can't get rid of this feeling, or we can't stop feeling the way we're feeling. Relationships that are based on dreams and drama are possible here. Relationships where you can't let go. Sexual connection that is not very good. You know, things outside of marriages, you know, like sneaking around, cheeky things like that are very, very possible and prominent during this time. Promiscuity that doesn't lead to anywhere good, and all sorts of delusions. So if you are someone toxic, and you've done a lot of things wrong, and you are at a meltdown point, or perhaps life has led you to a really strong place where you just hate things, or you are just feeling fear, such a nice time to lay down for 3 days, to cover yourself in blankets and books. Or watching TV is fine during this time, watching beautiful movies. If you can dream, if you go into the astral without, you know, too much issue, if you are seeing beautiful dimensions in the astral, or if you're drawing just for yourself, or if you're making love with yourself, or a person who's always there, it's tricky. So toxic love can create a spectrum that doesn't end. You know, anything, you owe me, she owes me this, he will be forever mine, she will never leave, she'll always do this for me. Like, that is possible to create as a circular energy which doesn't shine but never ends. But what is also, I feel, important here is to enjoy to the point where everything else falls off. If you are really addicted to negative things, and you say have something that brings you joy, like eating a sandwich, you know, if you're somebody who smokes pot, you know, if you are somebody who does things, you know, like you've got some kind of thing, addiction can sometimes save you from greater negativity. But also I feel that it is better on the higher level of this to replace one addiction with another addiction. So for example, I'm cutting out sugar and I'm going to have stevia. Or like I'm going to cut out exercise where I'm lifting weights, and for example I'm noticing that my body is straining and I'm building more muscle than my physical frame can handle, but I'm going to start yoga. So replacing one thing with another. But if you're somebody very, very toxic and very confused, just do what you like. Do what you like, and as long as it doesn't harm anybody else, sometimes this can help you with other cycles, and then any addiction or any darkness can be dealt with later on. Another couple of things, children. So yeah, fertility is on the rise. Children can happen. Even if you don't think you want a child, sometimes you might notice a feeling of wanting a child during this time, or an energy of a child come by. If you are wishing to prolong your enjoyment and your frequency and your career or your life, how it is, please consider that. I'm feeling that a lot of us women might find new prosperity or new comfortability with a partner or with partners and other people. So really do enjoy, but also consider where you want to be in about 5 or 6 years time, because I'm seeing a ceiling energy, a sealant over this moon. And that means that sometimes what we manifest or what we ask for, what we just do, can last with us for a while. Now, this is just a last little program here. So if you are somebody who is ascended, what I mean is you no longer crave anything. You don't care. And I've been getting a lot of you guys in the last couple of weeks. So it's like, you know, life is easy. You know, like I don't really want, you know, anything. You know, so if there are some of you guys out there and you are in large number, I'm excited and I'm slightly concerned because there's lots of energy going around at the moment. So the energy of people that do not any longer need to contribute, they no longer need to work and purpose and have a meaning, you know, or like show the world what, you know, you can do. If you are there, and I'm surprised that there's so many during this time, start telling people what to do. This is gonna sound weird because sometimes, you know, you get to a point where you can see past, you transcended it. You can start giving other people jobs because Capricorn is the sign of career. So career, meaning being the boss, starting to go to the higher ranks. So for example, instead of creating something yourself, you might want to design a situation where you are teaching other people how to do it for you. Employment of others. Consider it. If you're like totally like, I've done my job, I have trumped it, you know, I've finished it, I no longer need to, it's okay. You can start telling people what you think they should do. And this is not about being careful. I feel with care, like being careful about this thing, it's better to consider if you are on fire. Like, I told her this, she should do this, he should do that. If you have that fire inside and you're prodding at people, that means you're not ready to tell people what to do. So you're not ready to be a boss. If you're ready to be a boss, and if you're ready to be somebody who is the giver of work or the giver of schemes to other people that they can take care of, that's wonderful. And if you have, for example, a business or a career or something, and you do not like it, and you've already made your money and you do not want it to go on, it's interesting to have a look as to why you're still doing it, because you're taking up space that another person really wants, you know, or you're doing something that another person is really, really hungry for. And this is also to do with marriage and relationships. If you've trumped relationships and you've got somebody next to you or you've got someone near, and you're kind of looking them up and down, you can see that they're interested and this is an opportunity for you, but you're also understanding that there is somebody else that would be so joyful and so intense. So this is about passion. Do have a lot more passion for this person than you. Step back. Let them have the person. Because you might be able to stop the wheel, stopping the samsara wheel during this time if you are very like over it or you kind of like have done it. What I mean is you can have somebody else's place if you just let other people have yours. It's quite an interesting thing. So this is a very quantum thing. This is a very quantum thing. So basically, by the end of this transit, you might already see the place where I am at is going to get filled, and I am fine with that. And as you let it go, and as you let, for example, another artist get the gallery space, as you allow somebody else interest in the person that you were originally kind of considering, as you have that happen, you might actually understand that there is a greater spectrum opening. So suddenly there is a new place. So this is a very interesting quantum thing. Forgiveness, letting go. Forgiveness, letting go. So this is like Pluto, emotion, sun, energy, you know, everything is together, okay? We've got everything together. We've got a really nice energy that designs for us a new life, and if you are sort of like not quite ready to move on, and you're sort of like, you know, picking your nose at your job, you know, you're kind of like, you know, you're kind of so about this person, or you're not even really wanting sensuality anymore, or you kind of, you know what I mean, like it's all going your way and already has been your way for a long time, and you kind of, you know, the ego doesn't burn you, the emotions don't feel. Like there's no fear, there's no trembling, there's no emotions, and there is no sensuality or greed, because Venus, Sun, Pluto, Moon, and Saturn coming in, you don't really want to build anymore. If you transcended and ascended past all those planets, you think, where you are, it's really interesting to move on. So for example, you've got this really interesting person in front of you, and you can sort of like see, yeah, we're kind of compatible. Yeah. Okay, we can live together, you know? It's really nice to just let them go. Let them go. And then as you let them go, probably their life is going to change, and they might get somebody really beautiful in their life that's perfect for them within a month. But you are probably deserving of more. So easy gains, easy finds, things where you're like, oh, half asleep. You know, half asleep walking, half asleep doing, if you're half asleep creating, half asleep, you know, during sexuality, like sexual activity, if you half asleep during love, if you half asleep during anything with a group of people, and if you're like, oh yeah, you know, either start giving people opportunities, because that's going to grow you a lot, or start recognizing that these people or places that don't give you any potential anymore, or you're not hungry for them, are not any longer a stepping stone where you need to step. You can just let them go, because everything in life is. Life is a journey. So let that go, even emotionally. It's like, okay, I don't probably need this anymore. And then ask, what else? And this is the secret thing here, I feel, because we got Mercury in the 12th, not quite the 12th, but we got it behind the Sun here. So it feels to me that at this degree where Mercury is and how Jupiter is going, we can really pray, and that scream of the soul, not the scream, but the longing of the soul. What else is there? What else is there? Only if you know you've completed all your homework. You've completed all your homework, you got all A's, you trumped it, you don't want any more of this game. What else is there? You know, give me thought, give me a reason, give me inspiration, or please God, you know, I've taken care of everything, and say I've let go of every single person I know, and I've connected to nothing. Like, I'm here in the middle of nowhere. I can, you know, like, see what you have given me, and it is great. But I would love someone else to have this now. You know, perhaps your business isn't done, or maybe it is. And during this time, with Mercury like that, and Jupiter like that, and Saturn behind the Sun, things can get very, very crazy, and things can get escalated. So perhaps something breaks, something changes, something twists, and then finally you get a new transformation cycle. So you get a new samsara wheel, or you're out of it, you can be free. It depends on you and your own journey. But I feel that sometimes during this type of energy, if we have transcended Venus, transcended the Sun at this point, transcended, you know, the Moon is not a friend or a foe, it's like the Moon is just the Moon, and Pluto does not any longer help or maim. You know, it doesn't any longer help or heal or does anything. So when we are at this point where it's like, nah, take it or leave it, it's really nice to say, I don't know, I'm a bit stuck, you know, it's like I got everything. What else? Like, what would you like me to do? And sometimes with these types of prayers during this time, you might find that either you just get taken like a child and placed somewhere better, or somewhere different, or somewhere else, or you might find a few things crumble first just to show you your passion or your ego, and then after these things crumble and perhaps there's a tear or two, or there's disappointment, then you might find that there is a door that's been there, probably always there, you just didn't see it. Because some of us stay in situations because we don't want to know ourselves, and, you know, vice versa. Sometimes we're in situations because we can't get to know ourselves any other way. So have a look. Yeah, so yeah, another thing, I'm not sure how long this video is now because I've been talking a while, is marriages and group activities. If you are not sure where and why and how, find yourself a friend. See somebody else. God does not just live up there. Yeah, God is inside everything. God is everything. And this is sometimes hard to see if we're not getting a response. It is very, very nice to get somebody who responds to you and speaks your language. So ask them how you are, what they think, and what they know, how their life is going. Sometimes you might find there's a connection or a click that lasts a lifetime, or helps you with your own purpose. So yeah, very nice time to sit alone or together. And yes, very nice time to find the way. Anyway, thank you very much, you guys. It's been fantastic channeling for you today. If you'd like to see me for reading, you can. One thing though is I've been very, 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 very busy in the last couple of weeks with readings, and the last week has just been insatiably incredible. If you are not getting a response for the written readings within the first day, I'm so sorry. I've got a lot of people, so occasionally it takes me about 4 or 5 days to get to the reading, just because there is like a line. So if you would like a reading, however, you know, if you do want a written reading, so take into consideration they might not be exactly on time. With the other ones, the face-to-face, you know, everything is fine. It's just that I'm a little bit concerned about the bunch up of the written readings at the moment. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful result this moon. Thanks. Bye.